Why do you think it is more and more important to monitor the underground and groundwater situation in our cities?
Yes, our cities are growing at an ever increasing rate, but we really need to be able to use the subsurface a lot better and a lot more effectively so that cities can grow sustainably and meet the demands which have been placed on them. And I think often cities are seen as quite vulnerable places because of the density of people living in them, the intensive use of resources. But I think we also need to see cities as opportunities, because obviously they are the places of greatest energy needs, energy emissions, and if we can find solutions using renewable energy sources in the subsurface to try and meet those energy needs, then we will significantly lower emissions. So there are places of opportunities and challenges, but we need to have much greater knowledge and understanding of the subsurface, and to bring that into our above ground planning of cities to be able to really harness those opportunities for the future.
You have a lot of experience from Glasgow, the Glasgow trial. Tell us, what was the main reason, the main background that you started this project?
Yeah, so that project started from quite a small project where we wanted to develop a pilot urban groundwater monitoring network in the city, because unlike a lot of cities in Europe, we have very little groundwater data for the city because it's not used for public water supply or for industry. But there's increasing issues of flooding and drainage problems within the city, so we need to be able to have a much better understanding of the shallow groundwater resource so that we can implement appropriate solutions for the city. So we needed to establish a monitoring network, but to do that we needed to have a basic understanding of the shallow resource. So we needed to be able to access and reuse what data existed from site investigations from some of the major development and infrastructure projects in the city. And what we realized by doing that was that there was a huge amount of data available on groundwater in the city, but that no one, be it the Geological Survey or the city municipality or the consultancies and the contractors themselves, no one could reuse that data because of the way in which it was reported in many different PDF formats. And no research project would be able to afford to capture such high quality detailed data, so it really is a valuable resource. So the Glasgow project, which then began, was to try and develop a way of getting standardized data reporting in a digital format, which could then be easily and automatically deposited in a centralized national database, which could be validated and which everyone could access and reuse, so that in the future people could have a greater understanding of the subsurface before beginning a site investigation or a remediation project. And critically, it also enabled the city authority to have a knowledge base of the subsurface, which enabled them to de-risk development within the urban area, because they had greater understandings of the risks of the subsurface, so they could mitigate them for developers.
What will you say you have achieved in this project so far?
I think we've achieved a much greater awareness between the public and the private sectors of the data available and of the mutual benefit in sharing it. And we now have a national database of validated digital data, which is growing in size, and we have national stakeholders making it contractual requirement that everyone reports data digitally validated to the National Geoscience Data Centre, and that's a big step forward for us. And in the future, the next stage is for us to bring that process into national planning and procurement policy. Yeah.
What of these experiences, achievements, can in your opinion be spread nationwide, Europe-wide, worldwide?
Yeah, so when we come to Norway to this conference here today, and through the EU cost action, which the survey here is involved in as well, you hear that a lot of cities across Europe have similar problems. Everyone is facing this difficulty in reusing data, but everyone recognises there is a huge amount of data available in all of our cities. And I think what we are seeing is that the work that has been trialled in Glasgow, it's using existing workflow processes, it's using existing data recording, so it's replicable and can be adapted by other cities. It's not something which is unique or specific to Glasgow or even the UK. So I think it's very transferable within Europe in cities which have similar problems.
In the end, from your point of view, how is the focus right now on underground problems in the city or underground resources in the city from city governments, decision makers, planners, and so on?
Yeah, so I think there's a real need to understand how we can better use the subsurface to meet our energy needs in cities, and how those can be integrated with alleviating areas of greatest deprivation and fuel poverty and health, because there are clear spatial correspondences between populations which live closest to vacant and derelict land or land of poor quality to the populations which are most vulnerable, least resilient to flooding. So I think there's a strong focus in policy at the minute on being able to use subsurface resources but match those to societal needs.
Thank you.